What is up? What is up, everybody? It's me, Mike Vanderpool, here today with the Make It Happen podcast. And my two-time guest now, Tom Bush. This is awesome, dude. Glad to have you in. You're doing some awesome stuff in the AI community. We had Great Lakes AI Week last week. I want to hear more about actual reality technologies, your business. But first things first, thank you for coming in, man.
Yeah, man. I'd like to say back by popular demand, right?
Yes. There was we got many calls, but
I'm sure. Yeah, I see the stack of letters on there. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for requesting my time.
Yeah, and that first time we were over in the other room here at the Toledo Tech Loft, we've changed location now, look a little bit different, but we're constantly trying to innovate and improve. And you're probably one of the people who your business is actually at the forefront of all that.
Always be looking for opportunities to make things more efficient. That's what we love to do. I mean, the other day I was walking through a factory, and it was kind of funny because they invited me on this factory tour, and then unbeknownst to me, afterwards I got thrown in a room with about 15 people. And they said, okay, what did you observe? Tell us what we should do differently. I was like, oh, okay. Well, and then I rattled off like 9 things. And then they were shocked because they're like, how did you see all of that? And I'm like, well, you spend this much time in a factory, 15 years at GE, you see everything. And so the opportunity to improve is just like so tangible. And I love it. I love seeing things that are, you could save 10 minutes if you would just do this one little thing differently. And that 10 minutes turns into, multiply it by years and boom, you've saved millions of dollars. So
yeah, that's kind of like the lifestyle, the mentality of these software developers, right? Any redundant task or any little bit of improvement, they'll spend hours automating a 30-second task just so they'll never have to figure it out.
100%.
So we'll get into the nuts and bolts of actual reality technologies and then the state of AI. But let's talk about the thing that's most present, and that was Great Lakes AI Week. Last week, for those of you that don't know, or depending on when you watch this, in early November,
right?
Bowling Green State University hosted Great Lakes AI Week. Lots of awesome people, lots of awesome speakers. I think we brought 2,000 people, give or take, into the gate.
Yeah.
Or at least attended.
I'll break down the numbers. Like it was 2,300 people over the 1 week of experiences that we cultivated across our community. We had collaboration across our universities, like Bowling Green State University was where the Wednesday and Thursday was hosted, but UT hosted some trainings on Tuesday and big sessions on Friday and a cool sports thing on Wednesday. So, I mean, we had BG, UT, we had a bunch of things all around downtown Toledo as well.
The kickoff networking event was at Mommy Bake Brewing Friday, and then Toll House kind of wrapped it up. Empowered AI, another thing we'll talk about with you, closed out the week on that Friday.
Yeah, so we had, with those 2,300 people, we had over 500 people get AI certified and with different levels of credential. And what's cool about that is it really puts our region at the forefront of what's happening in AI. There was, Forbes magazine did an article a little while ago, and all they used was basically LinkedIn, and they looked at LinkedIn to see which communities had the most AI credentialed people. And now we're actually going to show up. We'll probably pop a little bit because we have, a concentration, and we were trying to set records. So 2,300, it makes it the largest AI conference in the Midwest. Which when you think about, Chicago is in our Midwest region, the fact that we could put on a conference just shows the amount of positive energy that people are really into this topic. And it shows that tech is happening in our region in a big way. I was on the news a couple weeks back, and I put out a new mantra basically saying that, Toledo is the most welcoming startup community in the Midwest or maybe even the United States. And it's kind of evidenced by the fact that I started a company, and here we are 2 years later with the support of the community, putting on the largest AI conference in the Midwest. I mean, you don't do that alone, right? And so it just kind of shows how in Northwest Ohio, people really care and will come. You have a good idea, people will say, let's go big, let's make it happen. So, like I've said on the newscast, I really, really love being in this community, and they make making change so easy because everybody's very forward thinking and ready to move.
And I think we've got the right mix of not just people, but just things going on, right? Because this is impacting the arts community. We obviously look at the murals behind you and all over downtown, everywhere else. We've got a big arts community. We have obviously advanced manufacturing industry 5.0, which is where you're playing. Whole bunch of stuff going on in that space. The education space, AI is I'm in that space. It's a phenomenal place to live and work right now. So we are in this kind of like a hub that has a lot of different things going on that are connected or will be impacted by AI. And we're all kind of in this central location where we can learn and grow together. And I think that's what's going to be the coolest thing to come out of all of this, right? Is the conference was cool. What are we going to do next?
Yes, right. Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the vision of our nonprofit is really, we didn't want to, we knew that we could be cutting edge. We knew that we could take our team of 20 and rocket, our manufacturers to a new place in their capabilities and efficiency. But what fun is that? We really wanted with our nonprofit to make sure we were lifting all boats with AI. And so a lot of the experimentation that we've done last year, and now the actual programs we have that have been rolling out and are now starting to get funded and get sustained, really are making sure that we bring our whole community along for this ride. And in fact, some of the press we got at Great Lakes AI Week on the news and in the Toledo Blade, there's commentary afterwards. And often there's negative commentary about how AI is evil and all this good stuff. And, one of the things I was thinking as I was reading through those, which people say don't read the comments, but as I was reading through those, I'm thinking about how do we help even those individuals see that AI is a tool that can improve their life. Like it is something that we have shown again and again that the confidence that you get when you use a tool like ChatGPT or Claude, that confidence is important because we act different when we move out into the world with confidence. And so we want to be the community that takes the best advantage of that in a way that lifts all of us up and really helps take the most AI for good that we can get out of it. I think in Northwest Ohio, being a Midwest community, we sit in a spot where we can actually make that happen.
One of the most encouraging things, I want to kind of recap the week a little bit, so we'll start at the beginning. One of the most encouraging things was the beginning. The event at Mommy Bay Brewing Company was probably one of the most diverse events that I've ever been to in all of Northwest Ohio.
Yeah.
So kudos, because we did bring in all of those different folks.
About 200 people showed up. Thanks to RGP for sponsoring that, the Regional Growth Partnership. It was awesome to see people show up. It wasn't our regular crew, which I love the regular crew that comes out for these kind of things. And so it was, to your point, it was great to see new faces, the diversity of people showing up, the diversity of conversation I was having there was just crazy. Like lots of people who had a lot of startup energy. At least 15 different startups came up and talked to me about what they're doing with AI to make a unique product and into their specific niche. And it was really, really, awesome with that.
Yeah. And the event itself at BG, there was multiple speakers, all kinds of awesome stuff going on. What surprised you the most? What did you kind of learn as I'm calling AI guru, right? What was the thing that kind of excited you, surprised you?
The thing that I really took away from the event is, and I said this opening night when 200 people showed up, and I knew that at least 1,500 people were going to show up and didn't realize it was going to end up being 2,300. We're not thinking big enough. I mean, for the amount of energy we put in to pull that off, it wasn't our maximum amount of energy, right? And it wasn't all of the community pulling together. And so if you think about how we can pull 2,300 people together to do a massive education moment where everybody's learning a new skill, learning a new capability, man, we're just not thinking big enough. And we can really do some interesting things, especially with a community that's as activated as ours is. We per capita right now, we are the most AI activated community in the United States. And with that 2,300 people that showed up, that is for us in our region, because we're only 600,000, that's 0.5% of our population. Now, it sounds like a very small number, but when Chicago, they got 9 million people. When they pulled an event like this, they got 500 people to show up. That's 0.0000007, or, 2 or 3 zeros, percent of their population. And so when you look at per capita, I mean, we're on fire. We're like, and if you even go to some of the West Coast, like they're not pulling that amount of their population. They're bigger cities. So per capita, it helps us on the numbers. But yeah, I mean, that's what's really exciting about this moment is that we are activated. We have a really good momentum. And so I think now it's the job of us to figure out how do we capitalize on that. And I do have some things for next year that I really want us to focus on. And so I'm happy to hop into those pieces as well. But yeah, so one thing taken away was that. Second, when I had announced that we are the most welcoming startup community, I kind of had announced that from my own experience. But at this event, it was shocking to see how many people came up to me and said, "This feels different." And what they were commenting on was they're like, you can literally feel the love like emanating through the halls. It was weird. Like, I mean, it's kind of like a moment where you just step back and you're like, man, there's like, it's all positive energy. Everybody was like, oh, I'm so glad to be here. And it's just like this love was just like pumping out of the building. I mean, it was really, really cool to see. And so it really just, doubled down on the fact that I think this community is both welcoming to everybody and really wants everyone to succeed. And so you could feel that. And there were some people from out of town. And so multiple times I heard it from them, like, hey, I go to these kind of conferences and you show up, you do the thing and you leave and you really haven't really talked to anybody. And, this one guy was like, I can't even walk down the hallway without 5 people just throwing their hand at me and saying, hey, hi, I'm so-and-so. What's up? What are you trying to do? And so that's why this energy was so palatable, because it was just like everybody was there. And I was just so proud of our community and the way that we showed up. And the fact that people could come in from Illinois, we had a whole busload of students come in from Illinois, and they were great. And they were commenting on how everybody was so friendly and just accepting them. Because you think when students go into a professional environment, they're often just looked at, the professionals don't pay attention to that, right? And here these kids were getting, their networking was on fire, both from their perspective, but the people were participating along with them. And they were very appreciative of that. It was one of the things they said to me. So, I mean, that's another thing I took away from that conference, is that I love our community, man. It's just really great that we're showing up the way we are.
It's interesting that that's what you focused on, because it wasn't about like an AI tool that was coming out or anything in that space. It is the community. And I think that is the most exciting for a lot of us, right?
Yeah.
That's what's going to define us as a region, is what we do together versus what we're all trying to do individually.
Yeah. Well, and in this way, we're living in the future that I see, which is, as AI, it's just a tool. And as we get AI to automate the mundane work, what's left is the connection with people. And so, I mean, it was basically on demonstration during the conference that while people were talking about AI, and I'll say it, there was a good portion of them that were about people and AI, like, how they work together, how to work together with AI. So you were paying attention to that, but every time there was a break or whatever, you were out in the hallway, man, it was all about people and interconnection. And that's really what I see is left on the table for us to focus on, 15 years from now.
So speaking of the future, but not that far ahead, I'm assuming you're doing this again next year. So yeah, same bad time, same bad channel, or?
Yeah. So I think we're going to come together as a community, kind of do a recap of what we learned, what we want to do to improve.
Post-mortem for my
exactly
software developer fees,
after action review for my military friends. And we would then have an important conversation, which is, how do we use this to maximize another burst of momentum?
Yeah.
And I think there's a really great opportunity, because we're already saying to ourselves, it's going to be double the size. And so that means we're going to be pushing 5,000 people next time. And so where can you host a 5,000 person event, and that's really got us thinking creatively about, where does this go? So yes, it will happen next year. Locations, it'll probably be multiple locations again. And so I think hopefully we'll get in the next, sometime in December, we'll be able to start making some noise about it, so everybody has almost a full year to think about it.
Yeah, because it'd be nice to, like, obviously the things that I'm going to do with the podcast, the things that you and I are talking about doing, and the things that you're going to do, those should all build up to get that point again, right? So what are you going to do in 2026?
Yeah, so I think the important thing that I want to focus on, while AI is still going to be moving and shaking, for our community, the next piece of energy I think we need to really bolster is startups. Okay. Right now, if you go to, there's a website out there that's like Midwest Startup Cities or .com or something like that. They've ranked our Toledo as number 39. And the one thing we could do to basically get up into the top 10 is have more startups, period. And it sounds simple. And so I think we need to be a little bit crazy and creative. Like I'm already talking to people about, like, what does it look like to have 100 startups in our community in 1 year? What does it look like? Could we even dream bigger and go to 500? Like what would have to be true for those kinds of things to be in reality? And so that's where I'd like to see more individuals step up into the startup energy space, because I think that's a piece of energy that we need to have. And it includes some of our big companies who got problems that they, that they're thinking about using a Chicago or, East Coast, West Coast company to solve. Well, if you can't find someone local to solve it, that's a local startup opportunity. And a startup with its first customer doesn't require as much funding to get going. And so, because the funding is built into the work they're going to do. So I think that's, as we look at our different institutions and think about, hey, can we turn those into economic engines? I've started saying to people, I'd like to see every dollar that comes into our community gets spent within our community, 4 or 5 times before it exits our community. And so how do we create that kind of ecosystem so that we're all really working together to build something really cool?
And you're not talking about AI startups.
No.
I mean, there'll be a few of those, right? But it's startups that will leverage AI to do the work definitely more effective.
I mean, in this case, I'm saying startup, any startup.
Yeah, that's great.
AI
enhanced food trucks.
I would love AI enhanced. Everything should be AI enhanced at this point. I mean, because truthfully, it's going to help, especially startups. One person could do the work of 3 people. And so that's what, when we want our startups, definitely, if I'm involved in kicking off these 100 startups, you better believe the first thing I'm teaching them is how to leverage ChatGPT to make it happen. So,
well, and one of the things, right, obviously a startup, you want it to grow up. One of the things I've seen in some of my work with companies that are scaling is startup is cool. When they scale, they have some of those problems because tribal knowledge, or talk to Bill about this, or we can use AI to consolidate some of the workflow communication, and that becomes something AI can help them grow more efficiently.
Yeah. I mean, even in my own startup, and I probably said this last time, but, Actual Reality Technologies, which is, an industry 5.0 AI manufacturing company. I wouldn't have left Amazon to start that company, but for the fact that I knew ChatGPT would have my back. Because, I was 30 years corporate guy. And when you're a corporate guy, you have, there's other people handling marketing. There's other people handling finance. You're there just to do your thing. And when you start your own business, I was well aware that now I have to understand marketing. I have to understand sales. I have to understand all these pieces of the puzzle. And while I do have my MBA, I'm not sure my MBA prepared me to be an entrepreneur. And so I was always kind of holding it at bay. While I felt like a little bit of that energy, I was always risk averse, scared. And then when ChatGPT came along, I was like, oh my gosh, this actually reduces my fear, reduces the risk, because every question I have, I can at least get an answer. And then I, as the human, can evaluate, do I trust that answer? So I can ask for, what do you think I should do for marketing? And it'll tell me 5 things I should do. And I can say, yeah, number 2 and number 4 seem reasonable, so I'll do those, right? I don't have to do everything it says. But the fact that it's there to answer the question when I need the answer was the unlock for me personally to take the risk and launch my own thing.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about the state of AI. Can we do that? Like, what is there's a GPT and an update and a new thing, Llama, Nano, something every day, it feels like. So
yep.
What should the people care about, I guess, right now?
What I would embrace, if you're new to AI and you're not trying to build the next AI, my intention for you would be just start leveraging the chatbots that are around. Which one's best? Doesn't matter. I can tell you, even the one that was a year old, we haven't used it to its most, usefulness. And so for the fact that they're releasing new ones all the time is fantastic. And for us AI nerds, we love every bit of it because it shows it's getting smarter and smarter. And yes, it will start producing better and better answers. But the good enough answers that we were getting last year were good enough for me to start my company. We're good enough to answer a bunch of questions. So, I mean, you got to dive in and, it's the same when we had the internet. Unfortunately, when people get a little bit older, they get a little more risk averse. They think they'll break something. And the reality is that when it comes to technology, the reason the young folk knows how to do this, it's because they don't know they could break it. And it's literally just that piece of the puzzle is they don't care if they break it. And the older folk are thinking, oh, I might break it. And that apprehension is what keeps people from starting. And so I think you can't break it. I mean, I'll just tell you right now, you can't break it. So just start using it.
If it does break, just reboot the computer.
Yeah, I mean, simple as all. Because what was nice about last year's version of AI, right, is that the chatbot couldn't do anything in the real world. So while you could ask it all kinds of questions, you as the human actually had to take it. So even if people say, "Oh, it wrote my book report," well, it generated a bunch of text that was a book report, but that book report didn't exist in the real world until you copied and pasted it into Word, right? So the human had to participate to take it from what was generated. Now with Agentic AI, which is a big topic this year for those who are kind of on the more edge of what's possible, Agentic AI is actually having the AI do stuff in the real world. So there is a little bit more risk, and next year it'll probably be even more risk. But right now it's very safe. So now's a good time to jump in and just start trying, because the chatbot won't go off and book your tickets to the movies without you knowing that that's what's going on. So
Agentic AI. So what is it? OpenAI came up with, is it Atlas? Is that what the product is called?
Yeah. So the browser that can do some stuff for you.
Yeah, and when I went and started playing with it, it basically gave me this warning: hey, you can wire in all of your things, but you're responsible for what happens with all of your things. Being your credit card, I think your credentials for logging into websites, to the point where Agentic AI is, you say, hey, go find me the cheapest tickets for XYZ, and instead of just presenting you a search result, it's actually going to go buy those things at that point. So a lot of power there, but with great power comes
great responsibility.
Great credit card bills. Fish theory.
Yeah. So I think, you got to know your tool and got to know what it's going to do and not do. So yeah, I would say Perplexity came out with Comet. I think that was probably the first to market. And so this was the introduction of browsers that you could actually ask to go do something for you. ChatGPT had released agentic capabilities prior to that, but it was basically an AI that would go off and do its own thing on its own computer.
Okay.
And so it was called Operator when it first came out. And so a funny story, I used Operator, and I used this example in my trainings all the time to teach something about how we perceive AI. So I used Operator to actually, I said, hey, I hear the Toledo Opera is hosting South Pacific for Valentine's Day. Could you go book these tickets for me? And so I show the opera, it goes off and it starts booking these tickets, and it's really cool because it finds the tickets, it starts to pick the seats, and then I show, look, it's human in the loop because it has trouble figuring out how to pick the exact seats. So then I take control, and I pick the exact seats, and then I tell it I pick the seats, and then it asks me, do you want me to put those in your cart? And it puts it in the cart. And so then it goes on and books the dinner. And so I pause that video and I ask the class when I'm usually teaching this, and I say, okay, so I went home and I told my wife, hey, honey, guess what? We're going to the opera for Valentine's Day. Was she excited? And then I'll say, yeah, she was probably pretty excited. I say, yeah, her husband finally, planned a date. So of course she was excited. And then I told her that AI booked the tickets. Was she equally excited? And everybody laughs and says, well, probably not. And I'm like, exactly. And so, it's a moment to take the lesson to say, look, going to the opera for Valentine's Day, this much value. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But the moment I said AI participated, it lost value. And it's just a super interesting thing. As humans, we're for some reason naturally wired to do that. Even though AI hasn't existed that long, we instantly have this, well, the computer did it, so it's not real, the you. And in the end, the value was achieved, the outcome was attained. Yeah, just because I used a tool to help me get there faster, people are discounting its value, which is just an interesting phenomenon. And I use it as a moment to teach people to say, beware that you might have feelings when somebody comes and says, hey, look at this piece of art. I got the idea because I generated with AI, then I painted it myself. And you're going to be like, well, that's not as cool as if you just had not used AI. But the reality is like, no, it's still their work. Like they painted that and it still shows their talent. They just were brainstorming with a tool. Like, why does it matter?
I had a moment like that yesterday.
Yeah.
So I use AI for almost all of my everything. Almost all of my emails, I make better and dump in whatever, or I'll talk to my AI and come up with this. And yesterday I did a post on LinkedIn. I don't post on LinkedIn very often. Right. One of my few posts on LinkedIn was about the one about design and technology, about how tech is cool, but design, I think, is where we should be leaning. Everybody's talking about, let's train people in tech. I'm like, great. And it was a nice long post, indented. It looks exactly like AI posts look. And it gave the line about tech is the instrument and you are the musician. Beautiful line, so much so that people commented about that line in the comments, I felt dirty. And I had to admit, I'm like, AI wrote that. I'm like, yeah, I got to admit this. I can't take credit for what the AI did, but I prompted it, right? So that counts for something.
Well, maybe, according to the Copyright Office of the United States, as long as the human tweaked it a little bit, the human can copyright it. It's good to be transparent, but when I talk to companies about their AI policy and what should be in there, I am encouraging them to put in a paragraph that basically says, whatever the AI produces and you show as part of your work, that is your work. And so therefore, if the AI produced the wrong numbers and you put it up there, you don't get an excuse saying, well, AI gave me that number and it's not my fault. It is 100% your fault because you're supposed to double check everything. And then you're supposed to take, you're supposed to craft it into your piece of work. If AI tells you to commit fraud and you commit fraud, you're going to jail. If you do something that's against our company policy because AI told you to, you're getting fired. And so it is just a tool. I mean, that's what we have to keep reminding ourselves. It is a tool to make us more efficient. And once it's made us efficient, it is our work thereafter. And so I think that's an important piece of the puzzle because too many people will use it as a scapegoat. Early on, people were asking about bias in the model. And I would tell people, the model may express some bias, but you as the operator don't have to perpetuate it past that moment. If you see it and you see that it's biased, don't copy and paste it and put it out in the world because then you're just perpetuating the bias. You can actually say, hey, ChatGPT, that was biased. Could you provide me a more or less biased opinion or whatever? And then, keep working with it until you get the bias out of it and then you can use it. So anyway, it is your work. Take credit for it, man.
Nice.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I like the transparency, though. So I tell people, you should be openly saying, hey, I use AI to do this and that. And, a funny story here, one more lesson. There's a great guy out there named Simon Sinek, and I would love for him to know who I am because he's awesome. And if you haven't looked him up, you should look him up. He has a great podcast. He also has written several books. And he went on someone else's podcast and was talking about how he wrote his book. And he's like, you should never use the AI to write a book. And his point was, you should never use AI to write a book because the book that I started out to write, this is Simon talking, was not the book I ended up with. Because through all the research and all the writing, I would change my mind, I would change the ideas. And so the destination ended up slightly, and it was better than what I thought I was going to write. Okay, that's one opinion, and I'm fine with that opinion, and I love Simon Sinek for that opinion. However, I'll tell you, I used AI to write a book. Haven't published it yet, but 200,000 words generated in one shot from AI. And when I was reading it, I'm proofing it now, I'm going through and editing it, it surfaced some of the most interesting research to me that I would have never found. And it comes to this idea that I have been experiencing, and the book is called Smart Not Sneaky. And I was basically writing some of the experiments that we've run through our nonprofit to try to see how AI empowers humans and some of the successes we've had. And I had been seeing this thing happen where the humans get more, I mentioned it early that they get more confident. And the confidence level is interesting to me because I've never seen something from tech give confidence, right? And so it's really cool to see. Well, I had no way to explain it. Like I had never, what the AI surfaced in my book. It found that this professor back in 1979 did studies on what he was calling self-efficacy. Mm-hmm. Self-efficacy is the desire to motivate yourself to do more work. And he broke it down into two things. And I'll just share this because it's interesting. He said, his theory was effectively that you learn these skills, whatever the skills, say it's cooking, right? You learn how to cook and you have to learn how to chop the onions properly. You have to learn how to mince the whatever, you have to learn these skills and then you produce the meal. And when you produce that meal and people love it, you get what's called a mastery reward. And that mastery reward feels good, right? Mm-hmm. And it felt so good that you're going to learn more cooking skills so that you can get even better, so that you can get another mastery reward. And it's this cycle of learn some skills, get the reward, motivates you to get more skills, get the reward, that perpetuates. That was his theory of self-efficacy. What we've been discovering with AI, and if you look at our Young Empowered Authors program, is effectively the kids, we're talking 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds, they don't have the full skill yet to produce a book that people would want to buy. Right. Yet with AI, we can bolster that skill. We can enhance that skill so that people do buy the book. And you know what that does? It jumpstarts that mastery reward. And suddenly they're getting praise for having written a book. And guess what they're going to do next? they're going to increase their skill in writing and reading and producing content that people want to consume. And then they get another reward, and then they're going to self-efficacy. So what AI has provided us is this jumpstart to self-efficacy. And I love it for that. And I think that's awesome. But long story short, the reason I brought this up, back to Simon Sinek writing a book, I would tell another story. I would say having AI write the first draft of my book surfaced all kinds of research, because I would have never found that research back in 1979. Because if I had researched it myself, I would have looked for research from 2020 to 2025. I would have never hopped backwards, right that far. And so that's how AI in writing a book actually paid a huge benefit, because now I can actually put decent words and academic research to what I've been observing in the real world. So anyway,
the design process, right, of idea, brainstorming, mind mapping, iterating, feedback over and over and over, right? So if you follow that process as humans, inevitably you get a better result. We're just leveraging technology, AI in that equation. We're not replacing it, right? If you're just going to have AI, if you had AI just go dumb me 20,000 words and never did anything else around it.
Yeah, if I jump that's immediately out. That's useless. Like, it's useless to the world. And in fact,
AI slop, is that what the cool?
Yeah, correct. And I use this in my in the Smart High Sneaky book. I actually talk about this. You know, if, as your boss, I want you to use AI because I want to save money. I want you to be efficient. So if you show up at my office and you say, you know, hey boss, I took 2 weeks to write this report, I'm going to take it as a coaching moment, right? I'm like, hey man, great. Thanks for the effort. But you know, AI could have gotten you there like probably in 2 days instead of 2 weeks. Then, so then the next time they come to my office and they say, look, boss, here's the report. I got it within a few minutes and I got it right off ChatGPT. And the story there is like, I'm still mad at you, right? Because I don't want to be proofing ChatGPT. That's not your work. And so I want to hear them come into my office and say, hey boss, look, I've worked with ChatGPT. I spiced it up a bit, reworked it, but it's better than I could have done on my own. And look how fast it was. That's what we want. We don't want people just copy and pasting and saying that's my work. We want them to tweak it. And so, yeah, it wrote 200,000 words, but I'm going to actually work through the whole thing and make it my own. And then the question is, did I write that book? I don't know. I can tell you, because the whole point of the book is that you should be transparent with how you're using it, that it will say written by Tom Bush and AI.
The irony is what you're talking about and dealing with in industry is the exact same stuff we're dealing with in academia. This is the point also where we talk about cross-pollination of things, like where what we can teach in academia can translate directly to the real world. All right, everybody. Tom Bush, you're doing some awesome stuff in the space of AI, and you got two kind of venture things that you got going on. Empowered AI, which is a nonprofit that's doing some awesome stuff, helping kids and organizations learn and grow, and then Actual Reality Technologies, which is paying all the bills, I'm assuming.
That's right.
Let's talk about Empowered AI, though, because you were talking about the books and kids being able to take their idea and turn it into a reality sooner, faster, leveraging AI.
Yep.
Give me the story. What is Empowered AI doing other than making cool kids?
Yeah. So Empowered AI is where we hold a lot of the energy around community building and, Great Lakes AI Week, trying to get that stuff out. And we're also using it as a way to kind of kickstart K-12 and higher ed by piloting compelling programs and using them as proof points to say, look, this is how you could do it. And so Young Empowered Authors was our first actual program with the idea of like, let's create the problem first and then teach the kids the techniques. And so the problem was we need to write a book that we're going to publish on. And then you teach them what is a story arc and what is character and what's background and what's copyright and what's plagiarism and all of this in the context of we need to make a book. And so that kind of flipping the classroom, project-based learning, all of those techniques kind of blended into one with AI as a big component of it. Our students, we did 40 last year. They've sold over 5,000 books amongst them.
Let's go.
Yeah. And so really what we didn't expect was the entrepreneurial spirit that it would kick off, which has just gone gangbusters. We're doing 100 students this year. And we'll probably set an even bigger goal for next year. So that's been really great. We've now taken that kind of philosophy and we've launched several AI-infused courses. So AI-infused project management was our first one.
Nice.
We picked project management because as a project manager, you're needed in construction, you're needed in IT, you're needed all over. I mean, every business has project managers floating And the idea there is if you take AI and you throw it all around the class. So we teach you how to use it as something that helps you work through the material. And in this case, there's a credential at the end that these individuals sit for to pass the project management certification. And basically, in the class, we're teaching you not only how to use AI to survive the class and learn all the content, we're using AI as the actual work product. So if you know anything about project management, you have to like break down the tasks. So you got this thing you have to do, break it into tasks. Well, you go to ChatGPT and you say, here's the thing I need to do, break it into tasks, and you're going to get some pretty decent breakdowns. And so we're showing them how to use in the techniques of project management, use AI. And then at the end, they have to sit for a test. And so imagine if they don't understand a concept, they could have a long conversation with AI about how does, what is critical path? How does that work? I don't understand the math. Can you tell me how, all this stuff? And so you can have that conversation. And then at the end, it's a test that has questions. So you can say, hey, I'm about to sit for this test. Ask me questions. And you can sit and have an endless number of questions. So when you infuse AI all around the coursework, we actually accelerate people, and our passage rate has been 100% on this certification test.
Let's go.
And so, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Number one. But number two, we found it to be super powerful. So we're actually working with the states and Jobs Ohio to try to take this across all of Ohio.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're introducing some more. So yeah, Empowered AI is kind of an educator. It's also, trying to basically be at the cutting edge of leveraging AI to solve in these different ways.
Can I make a suggestion or a potential partnership? Could we do game design with AI?
100%.
And not game design like computer necessarily game design, but like the design of even a board game, card game, physical. Yeah. I think that'd be kind of cool, right? Yeah. It'd be a fun class. I would teach that one.
I'm game. Pun intended. Yes, on ahead. And I don't know if you've seen, but AI can generate 3D worlds now. And so there's these world generating models where literally as you move through the space, it's elaborating the world in real time. And, that is probably going to be a whole gaming technique that has yet to really come to life, where you can describe the game you want to play and then it's generated for you in real time. And I think that's going to be really cool. So I think, let's figure out how to take these new models and turn them into self-directed games with, learning objectives throughout so kids can learn something while they play.
Let's not ruin it with something. Come on, Tom. Let's just have fun.
So then on our for-profit side, we've got Actual Reality Technologies. And so this is really the cutting edge company that is helping manufacturers and other become more efficient. And so several ways that we help our customers. In the manufacturing space, we have PhDs in data science. And so we're able to take in mountains of data and see things that the manufacturers maybe didn't see, or answer questions, so they may not understand why when it gets colder outside that their glass gets more defective. And so we're able to study the weather and their manufacturing characteristics and bring that together and be able to tell the story to them of, hey, it looks like it's this thing here that's causing when the temperature drops outside, this seems to be driving the defect for you. And so you can see a lot of that in the data. So we're really pushing the boundaries of what we can do with customers' data. Because we're a hungry startup, we're not exclusive to manufacturing all the time, but our cutting edge stuff is definitely pushing on the manufacturing front. A lot of back office automation. So we had one customer that had a process that was taking over 110 days to complete. And we did a Kaizen events, which is it's an old school technique. I'm a master black belt at Six Sigma, so a lot of our practices are rooted in that. And this is kind of how it goes. With a 110-day process, just with Six Sigma and Lean, we got it down to 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
But with advanced automation and understanding the art of the possible, we got that 30 days down to 14. And then just sprinkling in a little bit of AI to make it both sexy and more functional, we got that to less than 10 days. So, I mean, it's not all AI all the time. A lot of times it's good process improvement that's been around for a long time. But the secret unlock is we can do it so much faster. Yeah. We can implement the solution so much faster because AI helps us do that.
Well, and that's what AI is doing is with all the technology gets adopted does. I think that's the right way to say that. It speeds up transactions. That's it, right? Kids were cheating on tests. and papers long before AI exists.
And now they could do it.
It does it faster, right? Same thing, this agentic thing is going to be massive because what's it going to do? It's going to keep me from having to press buttons, and I'm going to be able to put my tickets faster.
Well, it lets us get, AI, because it used to be, and this is one of our secret sauces as well. So now I'm just giving it away all free, but it used to be that if you had a third-party tool and it didn't have an API, which is a programmable interface, you couldn't get stuff out of it. You couldn't interact with it. But now with AI helping us, we can craft solutions that will interact with that tool in ways that the original builder didn't expect. And I think that's one of the unlocks, is that it allows us to look at problems creatively from another angle and solve from a different perspective than what we've solved before. And in the end, the solution may not be AI. What we leave the customer with may not be an AI solution. It may just be an automation that is now in play, but AI helped us get there.
So I'm going to baby step back. So as an example of like the APIs and the data connections, like if I wanted to use a tool to book flights for somebody, back in the day, air quotes, I would have had to use that API token, a key to get access to it, pulled in that data, and kind of had that connection directly to the database. With Agentic, it's just basically behaving as a human in the browser to do what I'm asking it to do, versus have to have those connections.
Yeah, and if you ever encountered a tool called Kayak, right? Kayak was one of the first tools that would go to Delta's sub website and go to all these places. Well, I don't know this for a fact, but I would believe that back in those days, Kayak went and got permissions from each of them. Can I please have access to your data? Well, now what we could do is build something that would go scrape that data, right? And it was log in to the website, and you as the operator don't even see it. It's just going to the website, grabbing data, bringing it back, putting it in your database. And that stuff is so much more easy to build these days. There's just, like I said, it opens the creativity. And when people ask, well, should I go into computer science? The answer is absolutely yes, especially if you're a creative mind. And so there's lots of musicians and stuff that are in computer science, because there's this element of creativity, and AI just unlocks a whole nother set of tools for creative problem solving.
So actual reality technologies, who then is your ideal customer? If I'm talking to people, who should I be looking for? Where am I looking for?
I mean, anybody.
Fair. Okay.
We are trying to help, it also is part of the mission of Empowered AI, but actual reality technology is more the implementation wing. So we're implementing automations. So anybody who's seeking, is looking at their business and says, hey, I need to have more efficiency here, here, and here, they can call us and we can show them the light on how to get there. And in the end, it may be AI and it may not be AI. The beauty of what we're able to do is come in under the guise of AI and make sure you get the maximum return on investment that you can possibly get. Because we are a consultancy, our billing rate may be more than what a small mom and pop shop could do, but usually, medium-sized businesses we've been doing a lot of work with. So,
very cool. Very cool. Anything else that we should talk about, know about? I mean, tease the bourbon for next episode.
Yeah, I think, as we wrap up 2026 or 2025, see, my brain's already into next year. As we wrap up during time travel, I know, man. As we wrap up 2025, I think, it's now kind of entering the season where we just need to kind of sit back and celebrate some of the great successes we've had. And so I think, just hearkening back to the fact that we kind of had this peak moment with Great Lakes AI Week, as we get into this season of patting ourselves on the back and saying what a great thing that was, we need to be plotting what's the cool things we're doing in 2026 and how does that drive us to keep the momentum moving. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to working with everybody, especially everybody who's listening to this podcast. I mean, jump in, man. Let's figure this out. Let's grow our community and make it happen.
Make it happen. That sounds like a great name for a podcast.
And that's what you're all about.
You owe me a quarter. All right, everybody. I appreciate the time. Tom, thanks for all you're doing in our community. Thank you, obviously, for your participation. And I got to let everybody know you were the one that rung the bell and then circled the wagons for 10 a.m. So thank you for that. Everybody, we'll keep making it happen. Happy 2025. This probably is the last podcast. Who knows when people watch things anymore.
That's right.
But have a good one, folks. Be good to each other. And thank you, Chris Eischen, our producer here behind the camera. Chris, wave. Toledo Tech Loft. If you want to come do cool things, come check us out. Be good to each other.